So you are the CEO of OpenAI, 37 years old. Your company is the maker of ChatGPT, which has taken the world by storm. Why do you think it's captured people's imagination?
I think people really have fun with it and they see the possibility and they see the ways this can help them, this can inspire them, this can help people create, help people learn, help people do all of these different tasks. And it is a technology that rewards experimentation and use in creative ways. So I think people are just having a good time with it and finding real value. This will be the greatest technology humanity has yet developed. We can all have an incredible educator in our pocket that's customized for us, that helps us learn, that helps us do what we want. We can have medical advice for everybody that is beyond what we can get today. We can have creative tools that help us figure out the new problems we want to solve, wonderful new things to co-create with this technology for humanity. We have this idea of a co-pilot, this tool that today we help people write computer code and they love it. We can have that for every profession. And we can have a much higher quality of life, standard of living.
So paint a picture for us, 1, 5, 10 years in the future. What changes because of artificial intelligence?
So part of the exciting thing here is we get continually surprised by the creative power of all of society. It's going to be the collective power and creativity and will of humanity that figures out what to do with these things.
I think that word surprise, though, it's both exhilarating as well as terrifying to people.
Sure.
Because on the one hand, there's all of this potential for good. On the other hand, there's a huge number of unknowns that could turn out very badly for society. What do you think about that?
We've got to be cautious here. And also, I think it doesn't work to do all this in a lab. You've got to get these products out into the world and make contact with reality, make our mistakes while the stakes are low. But all of that said, I think people should be happy that we're a little bit scared of this. I think people should be
You're
happy.
a little bit scared.
A little bit, yeah,
You
of course.
personally.
I think if I said I were not, you should either not trust me or be very unhappy I'm in this job. As you point out, there is huge potential downside. People need time to update, to react, to get used to this technology, to understand where the downsides are and what the mitigations can be. If we just developed this in secret in our little lab here and didn't have contact with reality and made GPT-7 and then dropped that on the world all at once, that, I think, is a situation with a lot more downside.
What should people not be using it for right now?
The thing that I try to caution people the most is what we call the hallucinations problem. The model will confidently state things as if they were facts that are entirely made up. And the more you use the model, because it's right so often, the more you come to just rely on it and not check like, this is just a language model.
Is this a Google killer? Will,
No.
will people say
No.
I'm going to chat GPT it instead of Google it in
No.
the future?
I think if you're thinking about this as search, it's sort of the wrong framework. I have no doubt that there will be some things that people used to do on Google that they do in ChatGPT, but I think it's a fundamentally different kind of product.
Does ChatGPT, does artificial intelligence create more truth in the world or more untruth in the world?
Oh, I think we're on a trajectory for it to create much more truth in the world.
If there's a bunch of misinformation fed into the model, isn't it going to spit out more misinformation?
Great question. I think the right way to think of the models that we create is a reasoning engine, not a fact database. They can also act as a fact database, but that's not really what's special about them. What we're training these models to do is something closer to what we want them to do, is something closer to the ability to reason, not to memorize.
All of these capabilities could wipe out millions of jobs. If a machine can reason, then what do you need a human for?
A lot of stuff, it turns out. One of the things that we are trying to push the technology trajectory towards, and also the way we build these products, is to be a tool for humans, an amplifier of humans. And if you look at the way people use ChatGPT, there's a pretty common arc where people hear about it the first time, they're a little bit dubious, and then someone tells them about something, and then they're a little bit afraid. And then they use it. I see how this can help me. I see how this is a tool that helps me do my job better. And with every great technological revolution in human history, although it has been true that the jobs change a lot, some jobs even go away, and I'm sure we'll see a lot of that here, human demand for new stuff, human creativity is limitless, and we find new jobs, we find new things to do. They're hard to imagine from where we sit today. I certainly don't know what they'll be, but I think the future will have all sorts of wonderful new things we do that you and I can't even really imagine today. So the speed of the change that may happen here is the part that I worry about the most. But if this happens, in a single-digit number of years, some of these shifts, that is the part I worry about the most.
So what is the worst possible outcome?
There's like a set of very bad outcomes. One thing I'm particularly worried about is that these models could be used for large-scale disinformation. I am worried that these systems, now that they're getting better at writing computer code, could be used for offensive cyber attacks. And we're trying to talk about this. I think society needs time to adapt.
How will you know if you got it right?
One simple way is if most people think they're much better off than they were before we put the technology out into the world, that would be an indication we got it right.
A lot of people think science fiction when they think ChatGPT. Can you keep it so that these are truly closed systems that don't become more powerful than we are as human beings, communicate with each other, and plan our destruction? It's so tempting to anthropomorphize ChatGPT, but I think it's important to talk about what it's not as much as what it is. And because deep in our biology we are programmed to respond to someone talking to us. You talk to ChatGPT, which, really you're talking to this transformer somewhere in a cloud, and it's trying to predict the next word in a token and give it to you back. But it's so tempting to anthropomorphize that and think that this is like an entity, a sentient being that I'm talking to, and it's gonna go do its own thing and have its own will and plan with others. But it can't? It can't. Could it? I can imagine in the far future other versions of artificial intelligence, different setups that are not a large language model that could do that.
Thanks for watching. Bye.